This episode of Destructoid is brought to you by Click It or Ticket. Coming up on Destructoid, Diablo III is the fastest-selling PC game of all time. We go over Destructoid's Ghost Recon Future Soldier review, and the Marvel MMO actually looks cool? That's really weird. All that and more right now on Destructoid.
Welcome to Destructoid. I'm Tara Long.
And I'm Max Scoville.
Happy Wednesday, Max.
Happy Wednesday, Tara.
What's up?
This? The shirt. The shirt.
Yes,
I thought you were trying to draw attention to your breasts.
Well, also that, but do I really need to draw much attention, Max? Do I?
Yeah.
Actually, somebody on the street stopped me and said that this was the sexiest t-shirt they've ever seen.
Wow. That sounds like a lie.
Yeah, our producer Zach
run with
said
it, I guess. Where can these fine people get a shirt like this?
rev3games.spreadshirt.com, like spreadsheet, but shirt instead of sheet. Actually, if you use the coupon code REV15, you can get 15% off your order of $30 or more, so go get one.
Go get some shirts,
yo. Rev3 Games, man. Yeah. On to the news. So I'm sure we all saw this coming from miles away, but in case you haven't heard the good news, Diablo III has officially earned the title of fastest-selling PC game in history. Blizzard is reporting 6.3 million units sold in total, with over half of those happening in the first 24 hours of launch. Unfortunately, best-selling does not always equate to best, as they've been having quite a few problems since the game's launch, even apart from the server issues, which, as far as I can tell, have mostly subsided. But in response to player complaints, Blizzard just released a huge list of fixes that are meant to improve some of the game's balancing issues, and not everyone's happy about that. You don't say. In addition to weakening the Wizards and the Demon Hunter's Force Armor and Smokescreen skills, respectively, they've also nerfed the Monk's Boon of Protection rune, which Blizzard's community manager, Bashiok, claimed was approximately 10 times over its budget on the benefits it provided. So they toned that down a little bit. I've noticed some balance discrepancies myself in the game, and I'm going to be talking about them in more detail in our review this week. But it seems like the general reaction of fans is that they want more buffing as opposed to nerfing. Many have also reported imbalance in the class system, claiming that ranged classes have far more of an advantage than the monk or the barbarian classes, especially once you get to Inferno and on. That's when things start getting insanely difficult.
Class struggles in the world of Diablo.
Yes, class warfare. Bashiok responded to that claim, saying, quote, "Class balance is an ongoing investigation, and by no means do we believe the game is now perfect, but we're also seeing evidence that supports with a few nerfs to Wizard and Demon Hunter. The Monk and Barbarian are not as bad off as they seem. The game is young, there were some skills that threw things out of whack, and we expect the landscape to settle out a bit more evenly." So basically, they're going to wait for a little while longer, and because they don't seem to think that there's really an imbalancing issue here. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of you have been playing Diablo, and I'm sure a lot of you have already beaten the game, in fact. So has anyone experienced these issues? I've been playing as Demon Hunter, and I've noticed that certain enemies in places are exceedingly difficult, and then others are exceedingly easy. So it's kind of a crapshoot.
Yeah, I still haven't really taken time to get in that. I was grinding away at Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah, that's true. I was once you get to Act 2, man, things start getting really tough.
Like weird desert lands and stuff, and there's things out of the ground.
Lands.
So speaking of Diablo, and I'll get to why this is speaking of Diablo, you might remember last year it was announced that Gazillion Entertainment was working on a free-to-play MMORPG based on the Marvel Universe where everyone could play as their favorite existing Marvel characters, and that Brian Michael Bendis would be writing the game and somehow incorporating all the major Marvel Universe events into the story. I thought it was going to be crappy too. It sounded retarded. So ever since all that was announced at an event where it was all they had to show was a logo, which isn't even that logo. They've actually changed it since then. That was called Marvel Universe, and now it's Marvel Heroes. Well, today I have to eat my words because we have a trailer for this game, and it actually looks really kind of cool. Plot-wise, it is a silly, generic video game drivel plot about Dr. Doom stealing the Cosmic Cube and being Dr. Doom, but otherwise things are looking pretty good. What had slipped under my radar is that David Brevik would be working on the game, and he's best known for his work on Diablo 1 and 2. Had I known this, I might have had different expectations for the game. I had been picturing something along the lines of DCUO or Champions Online, but instead it has an isometric look, and let's be honest, it looks like Diablo 2 with superheroes, which is kind of awesome. I was originally irked with the idea of everyone playing as their favorite Marvel characters and seeing like 100 Wolverines running around on screen, but it seems like Marvel Heroes is taking more of a MOBA approach, and different heroes will have different attacks and passive powers and optional costumes, which ties in really well with the free-to-play model. As for the Diablo influence, it says on the site that there will be randomly generated environments, and the trailer shows off some of the gameplay, which, it looks like Diablo, and I'm suddenly very interested in this game. The Marvel Heroes site promises over 8,000 characters from the Marvel Universe, which is quite a lot, obviously. They're going to be the big name ones like the Avengers and Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four. But when I interviewed Bendis at an event last year, he actually mentioned that they'd be including some second stringers like Nova and Squirrel Girl. That's right, guys. I interviewed Brian Michael Bendis. I had to crouch down on a stool because he's shorter than me. Anyway, no release date on that. I'm really hoping we'd see something at E3, but apparently they're not doing anything at E3, or so I'm told. And I've also decided that Deadpool can't be my favorite Marvel character anymore because he's gotten too popular. And my new favorite is now Eunice the Untouchable, who's D-list as hell.
Hashtag comic book problems.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about comic book characters,
You
so
don't
everything you just
say.
said was complete gibberish to me. I'm going to talk about other things that are more important right now, to me at least. Destructoid's Dale North and Hamza Aziz recently got back from Judges Week. This is basically like an early look, I guess, at the stuff that's going to be shown off at E3. One of the games that Dale got to go hands-on with was Lost Planet 3, which is due for release sometime next year. Now, this is actually a prequel to Lost Planet Extreme Condition, so it takes place on EDN 3, but the planet is still in an ice age as opposed to Lost Planet 2, where it was all like tropical and shit. The story follows Jim, a guy working for Neo Venus Construction, who leaves his family back home on Earth to travel to EDN 3 so he can mine a whole bunch of minerals and then send them back to Earth and then make a bunch of money for his family and stuff. That seems like a very popular concept in video games. Anyway.
Working?
Well, like going to another planet to do stuff and then coming back to your family. So Dale's preview led him through a few different areas of the game, including this like wide open frozen tundra where you get to operate those giant robot rigs, and you eventually fight some monsters off with it. He said he picked up a creature with his left claw and then drilled into it with his right arm, causing its guts to splatter all over the rig's windshield. So that's cool, I guess, if you like gore.
Killing a giant crab with a robot. I think I could play this game.
I could get into this. He also said the rigs controlled really well and they didn't feel nearly as sluggish as he was expecting, so that's good. Later on in the demo, he fought a little mini-boss inside of a cave, and then at some point after that, he stumbled onto an abandoned base, which he said had a very Dead Space-esque feel to it. It's got these like creepy, dark corridors and crawly aliens everywhere that you shoot. Based on his impressions, it seems like Lost Planet 3 is taking a much more narrative-driven approach with some survival horror elements thrown in. Definitely a switch up from the previous games, though not entirely unexpected considering it's now in the hands of Western developers. Either way, Dale said that the demo hasn't really provided a clear enough picture of the full game yet, and we should probably wait to see more before making our verdict. In the meantime, we're probably going to be checking out the demo for ourselves at E3 in a couple weeks, so expect to see a hands-on video of our impressions very soon. But until then, you can head over to Destructoid.com to read Dale's full preview. So many words. Lots of words.
You get robots and there's some snow and some
I'm kind of excited
aliens.
about this one after seeing it.
It sounds neat. So another game that Dale checked out at Judges Week, dear Lord, that man has been busy, was XCOM Enemy Unknown. This is, of course, the turn-based strategy XCOM that's being developed by Firaxis, in which players control a squad of commandos set with the task of killing aliens. I got to see a brief demo at PAX East, which was enough to get my attention. Not an easy thing for a turn-based strategy game to do, because I'm dumb. But Dale's preview makes the game sound even more interesting. This is actually from what I saw at PAX. Dale played a PC build of the game, but he played it with a joypad and praised the accessibility, specifically the movement. After selecting a unit of your squad, their range of movement is clearly displayed on screen, and then by tilting the left stick, you can sort of stretch out a marker to direct them in whichever direction you desire. The line sort of snaps into place next to cover or vantage points, and it sounds sort of like altering a route in Google Maps by dragging it, except there's aliens there and you have to kill them. Now, obviously, using the terms joypad and streamline in the same sentence as strategy is the kind of thing that'll piss off a lot of fans of the original turn-based PC title, but it's been almost 18 years since the original game was released, and a lot has changed since then. I personally really think the thumbstick drag-and-drop movement system sounds interesting, and I'm going to get to go hands-on with that at E3. So, yeah. What Dale played was all in the early tutorial portion of the game, and he didn't really see anything too thrilling, but he did get to see some later gameplay. that involve more advanced stuff like XCOM dudes outfitted with alien tech, plasma weaponry, jetpacks, and even some psychic aliens that will convince your Earthlings to put grenades in their mouths and blow up their heads, which is gross. As you go through the game, you'll be able to customize your squad a great deal, and a big factor in the game is unlocking new perks and technology. Dale mentioned psychic armor, for instance, which apparently causes aliens to put grenades in their mouths too, and blowing up their faces. Anyway, the thing that I love most about this game is how much it reminds me of just playing with toys. It's got like a very kind of diorama look to it, and I interviewed a couple of guys back at from Firaxis at PAX, and they talked about giving the game kind of an action figure feel. They've got the whole sort of G.I. Joe USS Flag ant farm sort of look for the XCOM base, which is I just think that's neat. Let me show you my boat. Anyway, cool. XCOM Enemy Unknown is dropping sometime later this fall, yet there's no release date. There is word on some pre-order bonuses and a PC special edition. If you pre-order the game from select retailers, you'll get the Elite Soldier Pack, which includes tools for soldier customization like deco packs and color options to change your squad's look. This also comes with a new recruit in the barracks who's inspired by the original XCOM UFO defense title, so presumably he's very pixelated and old looking. As for the PC Special Edition, it will retail for $60, which isn't bad, and will include the game, an art book, a fold-out poster of the XCOM HQ, an XCOM insignia patch. I actually have one right here. They gave these out at PAX. Get a close-up. Yeah, pretty neat. And digital items like desktop wallpaper, the game's soundtrack, and more. As for other XCOM games, the other one, that was the Mad Men meets Twilight Princess kind of first-person shooter that they showed off at E3 2010, and which we haven't really seen much of since. That's being pushed back to sometime in Take-Two's 2014 fiscal year. So anytime between April 2013 and March 2014, that's a ways off. Meanwhile, though, there's of course Enemy Unknown, which I think looks way cooler. Are you guys looking forward to this? Is there anything specific we should pay attention to? Do you want me to try and steal anything from their booth? Let me know. Leave a comment.
Steal one of those tiny alien babies.
I will try to get more patches.
Look like the Ally McBeal baby. It's creepy.
Oh, gross.
I know.
Let's take a word from our sponsor.
Let's do that. In an effort to save more lives on America's roadways, state and local law enforcement agencies are going to be out in full force nationwide from May 21st to June 3rd, 2012. Teaming up to crack down on motorists who are not buckling up. This is an important issue, you guys. Seatbelts save literally thousands of lives every year. In 2009 alone, they saved an estimated 12,713, and that's just in the U.S. Younger motorists, and particularly young men, are especially at risk here. Among teens and young adults ages 18 to 34 who were killed in fatal crashes, 62% were not buckled up at the time of the crash. That is the highest percentage of any age group.
Guys, you should buckle up every time you go out, day or night. Well, first of all, it's common sense, and it's a great way to avoid dying. However, if you need any more convincing, law enforcement agencies across the country are prepared to ticket anyone not buckled up. No warnings, no excuses, just swift justice. So click it or ticket. Now you know, knowing's half the battle.
Swift justice is the best kind. And with that, we're back. So one big game that came out this week that probably got really overshadowed by Diablo and Max Payne is Ghost Recon Future Soldier. And while we weren't able to snag a review copy, Destructoid's Maurice Tan did, and he gave the game a surprising 9 out of 10. I don't think many people were expecting that. He said it provides a fresh look and playstyle while still maintaining the tactical roots that made the Ghost Recon series so popular to begin with. Of course, one of the first changes you'll notice is the camera, which is done in kind of a shaky cam style, except not annoying, because I typically hate that. You'll also see a lot of 3D scenery with overlaid text on top, also kind of new. But stylistic changes aside, there has been a significant overhaul to the AI system in the game. So now instead of directing your squad mates to specific locations, you can just tag up to 4 enemies with the press of a bumper, and your squad mates will just take care of them for you. So player choice has been kind of eliminated in that regard, but apparently the game makes up for it by introducing a lot of other tactical advantages, such as weapons from the future.
Dun dun dun.
So one cool gadget that you get is the sensor grenade, which highlights all your enemies whenever you toss it into a field. You also get the UAV drone that lets you tag enemies from the sky, and you can kind of look down and see them. And then you've also got a magnetic view vision mode that lets you distinguish armed soldiers from civilians through walls and other terrains and stuff. So you've got basically X-ray vision. There are also 12 lengthy campaign missions in total. All of them can be played co-op with up to 4 people. Very cool. And each mission also includes specific weapon and tactical challenges that overall affect your final ghost score for that mission. So that's cool. It also adds a bunch of replayability since you're not likely to get all of them on your first playthrough.
And it sounds spooky too, on account of the ghosts.
Yes.
Yeah, anyway, so obviously you can't make a military shooter without multiplayer, and of course, Maurice talked about that too. Future Soldier has a few different modes. There's Guerrilla Mode, which is effectively Horde Mode with perks for surviving waves of enemies, but with an added addition of a sort of a stealth wave while moving to a new HQ location to protect that. Conflict Mode takes the traditional team deathmatch, but adds more tactical twist by incorporating gadgets like, claymore mines and sensor grenades, or putting up fixed cameras, as well as giving each team different goals. For instance, capturing and holding an EMP location will black out the enemy team's HUD, making it hard to distinguish between friend or foe, which is kind of a cool layer of strategy to it.
Indeed.
There's also Decoy, in which a team has to locate a real target out of a potential of 3 without either team knowing which is the real one, so it's gonna, whodunit. Saboteur, you have to place a bomb, and Siege, a team must complete an objective without any respawns.
Yeah.
There were some negatives he mentioned. There was
Yeah, I think the multiplayer was kind of paling in comparison to the single player. He said that the campaign is really where it's at.
Really?
The only negatives he really mentioned in his review were kind of a weird enemy AI, where they'll sometimes run back and forth and just kind of do the same thing over and over. And he also mentioned that for a game that relies so much on teamwork, that they did a surprisingly not great job of humanizing your squad mates. Because those are the people that you work with throughout the whole game, and yet you never see their faces.
They all look like that guy.
Yeah, they all look like faceless grunts,
that's a problem with military games in general, because it's like all like stupid code names and stuff, and it's like, give me the A-team, just give me some G.I. Joe. Anyway, you guys can go read Maurice's review over on Destructoid.com, and that's about all the time we have for today.
I suppose it is.
But let's see, if you desperately need more video game-related entertainment, go check out the Rev3 Games channel. In addition to the Dragon's Dogma review that went up on Monday, I just put up a video this morning that's like just 2 minutes of me messing with pigs and cows in the game, so you should probably go watch that. Also, you might remember we had Brian Brushwood on the show a few weeks ago to talk about the Elder Scrolls Online. Right after that, I got to be a guest on his show, Scam School, where he taught me, Anthony Carboni, and Veronica Belmont how to eat fire. Literally, how to eat fire with their mouths. That's over on revision3.com/scamschool, and it's ridiculous.
I was actually supposed to learn that, but then I showed up drunk and flammable, so I did something else instead for Scam School, which you will also be seeing very soon.
Yeah, and you want to plug the Twitters?
Sure, why not? You guys should go follow us on Twitter if you haven't already. We are at Detoid Show. He's also on there at Max Scoville. I am Terra Longest. We're getting up there, man. Almost 15K followers. So
exciting.
go follow us. We're going to be back here on Friday for our live show. That is every Friday at youtube.com/Detoid at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. I'm not going to be here, unfortunately.
Boo.
I will be in Yosemite enjoying the fresh air. And Anthony will be filling in for me.
Cool.
And Freddy Krueger also.
Cool.
So.
I said fight a cougar, but Freddy Krueger works too.
Okay.
In Yosemite.
Maybe both.
Anyway, have fun in the desert, Tara. See you guys on Friday.
See you guys Friday.